The stars were silent around the Krellian research ship Harmony's Edge. Dr. Vextar moved his forearms carefully as he brushed dirt from the ancient stone tablet. His large eyes studied the symbols carved deep into the rock. The dead planet. Below held many secrets, but this one made his scales shiver with fear. The writing was old, very old. It showed warnings in 12 different languages from across the galaxy. All of them spoke of the same thing, a species called Terrans. The words described creatures of impossible violence and endless change, beings who could adapt to any threat and turn any weapon into something deadlier. Vextar had never heard of Terrans before. No one in the Galactic Federation talked about such creatures. He called his captain on the ship's communication system. "Captain Morden, you need to see this," he said. His voice shook slightly. The Krellian captain appeared on the screen. His blue skin looked worried. "What have you found, Doctor?" "Warnings about a species called Terrans. The writings say they were the greatest threat the galaxy ever faced. But, Captain, these tablets are over 300 years old. Where are these Terrans now?" Captain Morden was quiet for a long moment. "Send me everything you've found. We need to report this to Federation Command immediately." Far away on a blue and green world called Earth, Commander Lee Tae-ho stood in front of a massive window. He watched the sun set over the rebuilt cities of Seoul. 300 years had passed since humanity last spoke to the galaxy. 300 years of silence. The Great Isolation had been humanity's choice. After the colonial wars that nearly destroyed half the known worlds, Earth's leaders decided their species was too dangerous. They closed all space routes to Earth. They stopped all communication with alien species. They told the galaxy that humanity was done with war, but isolation had changed them. Earth's 12 billion people had spent centuries learning, growing, and becoming something new. They had built technologies that could reshape matter itself. They had learned to change their own bodies and minds to meet any challenge. They had become more than what they were before, but they had also learned wisdom. Commander Lee Tae-ho was one of the few humans who remembered the old days. He had been young during the last years of contact with the Federation. Now, he was Earth's chief, specialist in alien relations. His job was to watch the galaxy and wait. Dr. Park So-young entered the observation room. She carried a datapad in her hands and her face looked serious. As Earth's best xenobiologist, she studied alien life forms that most humans had forgotten existed. "Commander, we're receiving signals," she said. "Multiple distress calls from the Outer Rim territories." Lee Tae-ho turned from the window. "Show me." Dr. Park activated a holographic display. The image showed a star map with red warning lights blinking across dozens of systems. "It's something called the Devourers. According to the transmissions, they're machine intelligences that consume entire planets. The Federation's military forces can't stop them." "How long have these attacks been going on?" Lee Tae-ho asked. 6 months. The Devourers appeared from dark space beyond the Galactic Edge. They learn from every battle. Every weapon used against them makes them stronger. The Federation is calling for any help they can get. Lee Tae-ho studied the map. The red lights were spreading like a disease across the galaxy. Millions of lives hung in the balance. After 3 centuries of isolation, the universe was asking humanity to return. "Schedule an emergency meeting with the Global Council," he said. "It's time to make a choice." 3 hours later, Lee Tae-ho stood before Earth's governing council. Representatives from every nation and major city watched him through holographic projectors. Admiral Kim Do-won, the old soldier who had fought in humanity's last galactic war, sat in the front row. His weathered face showed the weight of difficult memories. Dr. Park So-young presented her analysis to the council. The Devourers represent an extinction-level threat to all organic life in the galaxy. They adapt to every defensive strategy within hours. Traditional military tactics have proven completely ineffective against them. "And what does this have to do with us?" asked Counselor Wei from New Beijing. "We chose isolation for good reasons. The galaxy is no longer our responsibility. Admiral Kim Do-won stood up slowly. His voice carried the authority of someone who had seen the true cost of war. Counselor Wei, with respect, the galaxy was never our responsibility. But these creatures don't care about our isolation. If they consume the entire Federation, how long before they turn their attention to Earth? Captain Cho Mi-ran, Earth's finest starship pilot, stepped forward. Our monitoring stations show the Devourers moving in a pattern. They're not random destroyers. They're systematically eliminating every advanced civilization they encounter. Isolation won't protect us forever. The council chamber filled with urgent whispers. Lee Tae-ho raised his hand for silence. The question before us is simple. Do we maintain our isolation and hope the galaxy can solve this problem without us? Or do we accept that our exile has ended and return to take our place among the stars? Counselor Martinez from Sao Paulo spoke up. Commander, what makes you think humanity can succeed where the entire Federation has failed? Dr. Park So-young answered instead. Because we've spent 300 years learning to adapt. The Federation species have remained mostly unchanged since we left. But we've evolved. We've developed technologies and capabilities that didn't exist during the colonial wars. We've become something new, something more dangerous than before, Admiral Kim Do-won added quietly. The galaxy feared us when we were young and reckless. They should be terrified of what we've become. The vote took place immediately. Of Earth's 200 council members, 187 voted to end the isolation. Humanity would return to the galaxy. Within 6 hours, the starship Resilience launched from Earth's primary orbital shipyard. Captain Cho Mi-ran commanded the vessel, with Commander Lee Tae-ho serving as diplomatic officer and Dr. Park So-young leading the science team. The ship itself was a masterpiece of 3 centuries of human innovation. Its hull could reshape itself to deflect any weapon. Its engines could fold space-time to travel faster than anything else in known space. As they approached the edge of Federation territory, automated defense systems detected their approach. Warning signals filled the communication channels. Unknown. Vessel, you are entering restricted Federation space. Identify yourself immediately or face destruction. Captain Cho Mi-ran smiled grimly. This is Captain Cho Mi-ran of the Earth vessel Resilience. We are responding to your distress calls regarding the Devourer threat. The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. Then a different voice came through the speakers, older and more uncertain. Did you say Earth? Terran vessel. This is Admiral Vrektar of the Federation Defense Force. Earth has been silent for 3 centuries. We thought your species was extinct. Commander Lee Tae-ho took over communications. Admiral, humanity chose isolation, but that isolation ends today. We're here to help with your Devourer problem. I'm ordering all weapon systems to stand down, Admiral Vrektar said. But Terran vessel, you should know that many species still remember the old days. They remember what humans were capable of. Your return will cause fear as well as hope. Captain Cho Mi-ran guided the Resilience toward the first Federation outpost. Behind them, more human ships were already launching. From Earth, the galaxy's most feared species had returned to the stars, and nothing would ever be the same. The Federation Council chamber on Galactic Prime had not seen such chaos in over 2 centuries. Representatives from 12 different species argued loudly as holographic displays showed the spreading Devourer attacks. Ambassador Yu Jae-min sat quietly in the observer section, watching the panic unfold around him. He was the first human to set foot on Galactic Prime since the Great Isolation began. His simple black diplomatic uniform looked strange among the colorful robes and natural armor of the alien delegates, but everyone in the chamber knew exactly who he was and what his presence meant. "The humans cannot be trusted!" shouted Counselor Thexvar, his reptilian features twisted with anger. They nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Now they return, just when we face our darkest hour. This is not coincidence." The Altarian delegate raised her crystalline hand for attention. "Logic suggests we examine the facts. The Terrans have offered assistance against the Devourers. Our current military efforts have achieved zero success. Perhaps we should consider their proposal." "Consider it?" The Centauran ambassador's voice boomed across the chamber. "We should be preparing our defenses against them. The old warnings speak of their endless capacity for war and destruction." Ambassador Yu Jae-min finally stood up. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned toward him. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke. "Honorable delegates, I understand your concerns. Humanity's past actions left deep scars on the galactic community. But we are not the same species that left 3 centuries ago. We return not as conquerors, but as defenders of all life." Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, the battle for New Centauri was reaching its final stages. Admiral Kim Do-won commanded a small human fleet as they approached the besieged Federation colony. 3 planets in the system had already been consumed by the Devourers. Only New Centauri Prime remained. The massive Federation defense fleet floated helplessly around the planet. Their ships showed heavy damage from weeks of failed attacks. The Devourer machines had learned to counter every weapon, every strategy, every tactical formation the Federation possessed. Colonel Han Soo-jin studied the enemy formations from the bridge of the human cruiser Determination. The Devourers looked like a swarm of metal insects, each one the size of a small moon. They moved in perfect coordination, adapting their shapes and weapons based on whatever attacked them. "Their learning algorithms are impressive," she said to Admiral Kim Do-won. "But they have one major weakness." "Which is?" the Admiral asked. "They assume their enemies think logically. They prepare for reasonable tactics and predictable strategies. But humans don't always fight reasonably." Colonel Han Soo-jin activated the fleet communication system. "All ships prepare for Operation Madness. Ignore all standard military doctrine. I repeat, ignore everything you learned in military school. We're going to fight like humans." Engineer Nam Hyun-woo worked frantically in the weapons bay of the Determination. Instead of the advanced energy weapons that filled Federation arsenals, he prepared kinetic bombardment systems. Simple rocks accelerated to incredible speeds. The Devourers would have no energy patterns to analyze, no technological signatures to adapt to. But the real innovation was psychological. Nam Hyun-woo had spent years studying machine learning systems during Earth's isolation. He knew that artificial intelligences struggled with chaos and contradiction. So he prepared weapons that made no logical sense. The human fleet attacked, in patterns that violated every rule of space combat. Ships moved in impossible formations. They fired weapons at empty space, then suddenly changed targets without warning. Captain Cho Mi-ran piloted her ship in spirals and loops that would make any sane military officer sick. The Devourers tried to adapt. Their collective intelligence analyzed each human action and prepared countermeasures. But as soon as they adjusted to one tactic, the humans switched to something completely different. Colonel Han Soo-jin watched the enemy confusion with satisfaction. "Launch the viral programs," she ordered. Nam Hyun-woo's second innovation struck the Devourer network like a digital plague. Instead of trying to destroy the machines, the programs filled their communication systems with contradictory data. The Devourers received thousands of false signals telling them to adapt in different directions at the same time. Within hours, the machine swarm began attacking itself. Their perfect coordination collapsed into chaos as different groups tried to implement conflicting adaptations. The human fleet pressed their advantage, using weapons that changed their function randomly and tactics that made no sense even to other humans. The Federation observers watched in stunned silence as humanity did the impossible. They stopped the Devourer advance and began systematically dismantling the machine network. Admiral Rektar of the Federation Defense Force opened a communication channel to the human flagship. Admiral Kim Do-won. How did you achieve this? Our best military minds studied these creatures for months and found no effective strategy. Admiral Kim Do-won's weathered face appeared on screen. Admiral Rektar. Your mistake was trying to fight them rationally. Machines expect logic. They prepare for reasonable responses to threats, but humans spent millions of years surviving by being unreasonable when necessary. Back on Galactic Prime, news of the victory at New Centauri spread through the Federation Council chamber. The arguing stopped as delegates received reports of the Devourer defeat. Ambassador Yu Jae-min remained seated, showing no emotion as the alien representatives stared at him with new expressions. Fear mixed with hope on every face. The humans had proven they could stop the Devourers, but they had done so using methods that no other species could understand or predict. Dr. Choi Yun-young, Earth's chief philosopher, had arrived on Galactic Prime just hours after the battle ended. She carried with her detailed records of human technological development during the isolation period. Her job was to help the Federation understand what humanity had become. We call it adaptive evolution, she explained to the gathered delegates. During our isolation, we learned to change not just our technology, but our thinking patterns, our biological capabilities, and our social structures. We became a species that can transform itself to meet any challenge. The Altarian delegate asked the question that everyone was thinking. Dr. Choi, what are the limits of this adaptation? How far can humans change while remaining human? Dr. Choi was quiet for a long moment. That is the question we ask ourselves every day. We have developed the ability to modify our genetics in real time. We can enhance our minds to process information at superhuman speeds. We can alter our psychology to remain calm in situations that would drive other species insane. But we struggle to maintain our essential humanity while embracing these changes. The Nexari hive mind representative spoke through its translation device. The collective finds this concept disturbing. Individual adaptation without group consciousness leads to chaos and unpredictability. Exactly, Dr. Choi said with a slight smile. That unpredictability is what makes us effective against enemies like the Devourers. But it also makes us dangerous in ways that concern even ourselves. Ambassador Yu Jae-min stood up again as the chamber buzzed with worried conversations. Honorable delegates, I propose a joint commission to study the Devourer threat and coordinate our response. Humanity offers its full cooperation and knowledge sharing, but we ask for the same trust and cooperation from the Federation. The Centauran. Ambassador looked directly at him. And if we refuse? What then, human? Yu Jae-min's expression remained calm. Then we will protect the galaxy anyway, because that is who we have chosen to become during our long isolation. We are no longer the species that fights for territory or resources. We fight now for the principle that life should continue to exist and grow throughout the stars. The vote took place immediately. By a narrow margin, the Federation agreed to accept human assistance against the Devourers. But everyone in the chamber understood that something fundamental had changed. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted forever, and no one knew what that would mean for the future. The Devourers had learned from their defeat at New Centauri. General Shin Dong-hyuk watched the holographic display with growing concern as reports came in from across the galaxy. The machine intelligence was adapting faster than anyone had predicted. They were using human tactics now, fighting with the same unpredictable strategies that had defeated them. They're copying our psychological warfare programs, reported Dr. Lim Hai-jin from her laboratory on Earth. The latest attacks show Devourer units using chaos tactics and random movement patterns. They've somehow reverse-engineered our approach. General, Shin Dong-hyuk was Earth's supreme military commander, a man who had spent decades studying warfare in all its forms. He understood that conventional victory was no longer possible. The enemy learned too quickly, adapted too completely. Every human innovation would be copied and turned against them within days. "Doctor, how quickly can your genetic enhancement program be ready for field deployment?" he asked. Dr. Lim Hae-jin hesitated. "General, the psychological testing is incomplete. We don't know the long-term effects of the modifications. The volunteers might not remain fully human after the procedures." "Doctor, if we don't try something new, there won't be any humans left to worry about." His voice was hard with the weight of command decisions. "How many enhanced soldiers can you prepare?" 500 in the first wave, maybe 2,000 within a month." Dr. Lim looked troubled. "But General, once we cross this line, we can never go back. These modifications will change our species permanently." In the Titan system, Captain Bae Seung-ho prepared for his final briefing as a normal human. He stood with 499 other volunteers in the medical bay of Earth's largest orbital facility. Each of them had chosen to undergo the enhancement procedures that would transform them into living weapons. Dr. Lim Hae-jin explained the process to the assembled soldiers. "The genetic modifications will allow your bodies to interface directly with technology. Your nervous systems will be enhanced to process information at superhuman speeds. Your muscle and bone structure will be altered for increased strength and durability." She paused, looking at each face in the room. "But the most significant changes will be psychological. Your minds will be conditioned to find solutions in impossible situations. You will think differently, react differently, and see the world differently than normal humans. Some of you may lose the ability to relate to unmodified people." Captain Bae Seung-ho raised his hand. "Doctor, will we still be human?" "That," she said quietly, "is what we hope to discover." The enhancement process took 72 hours. Captain Bae Seung-ho woke up in a world that looked completely different. Colors were sharper, sounds carried more information, and his mind processed dozens of thoughts simultaneously without confusion. When he looked at his hands, he could see the technological interfaces beneath his skin, waiting to connect with any system he touched. But the strangest change was emotional. The fears and doubts that had always accompanied him into battle were gone. In their place was a calm certainty that he could adapt to any threat, overcome any obstacle, and find victory in any situation. Dr. Park So-young documented everything from the observation deck. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had been asked to monitor the enhanced soldiers for signs of species drift. What she saw both amazed and terrified her. "They move differently," she reported to General Shin Dong-hyuk. "Their coordination is perfect. Their reaction times are impossible by normal human standards. But more concerning is their psychological state. They show no fear, no hesitation, and very little emotional connection to unmodified humans." The first field test came at the Rigel outpost, where Devourer forces had established a major staging area. The Federation had lost 3 fleets trying to retake the system. Now it was time to see what enhanced humans could accomplish. Captain Bae Seung-ho led 50 enhanced soldiers against a Devourer army that numbered in the millions. The machine intelligence had learned human tactics, but they could not predict what humans might become when they abandoned their original limitations. The enhanced soldiers did not use weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, they interfaced directly with the battlefield itself. Captain Bae touched a damaged Federation communications array and instantly reprogrammed it into a weapon system. Another soldier merged temporarily with a Devourer unit, corrupting its programming from within before separating. Most disturbing of all, the enhanced humans began adapting in real time during the battle. When the Devourers deployed new defensive measures, the soldiers' bodies literally changed to counter them. Their skin became metallic to deflect energy weapons. Their bones hardened to withstand crushing force. Their minds accelerated to process information faster than machine intelligence. Dr. Park So-young watched the battle feeds with growing horror. "They're not fighting the Devourers," she told General Shin. "They're out-evolving them. But in doing so, they're becoming something that might be more dangerous than the original threat." The enhanced soldiers won the battle in 6 hours. The Devourer staging area was not destroyed but converted, its machines reprogrammed to serve human purposes. Captain Bae Sung-ho reported back to command with no emotion in his voice. "Mission accomplished. Rigel Outpost is secured. Requesting new orders." When General Shin asked about casualties, Captain Bae seemed confused by the question. "There were no casualties, sir. We adapted as necessary to ensure mission success." "I meant psychological casualties, Captain. How are your soldiers handling the changes?" Captain Bae was quiet for a long moment. "We are no longer the same people who volunteered for enhancement, General, but we are still committed to protecting humanity and the galaxy. Is that sufficient?" On Galactic Prime, the Federation Council watched recordings of the Rigel battle with stunned silence. Ambassador Yu Jae-min sat calmly as alien delegates argued about humanity's transformation. "They're becoming something beyond our understanding," said the Altarian representative. "These enhanced humans show capabilities that transcend known biological limitations. How do we coexist with such beings?" The Centauran ambassador was more direct. "The question is not coexistence. The question is whether we are witnessing humanity's evolution or the birth of a new galactic threat. These enhanced soldiers show no concern for the cost of victory." Dr. Choi Yun-young, who had remained on Galactic Prime as a human observer, finally spoke. "Honorable delegates, you are witnessing the price of survival. My species has chosen to become whatever is necessary to protect life in this galaxy. Yes, we are changing. Yes, we may be becoming something you cannot understand or predict, but we are still committed to the same values we held before enhancement." "And what happens," asked the Nexari collective, "when your enhanced soldiers decide that normal humans are also a threat to be managed or controlled?" Dr. Choi had no answer for that question. Back on Earth, the same concern was being debated in emergency council sessions. Dr. Lim Hae-jin presented her latest psychological evaluations to worried government officials. "The enhanced soldiers maintain their loyalty to humanity's core mission," she reported. "But they increasingly see unmodified humans as limited beings who cannot understand necessary choices. They are becoming protectors, but protectors who may decide what is best for us without consulting our wishes." General Shin Dong-hyuk studied the tactical reports from Rigel. The enhanced soldiers were incredibly effective, but each victory came with a cost that went beyond military casualties. Humanity was winning the war against the Devourers, but losing something essential about what made them human in the first place. "Prepare the second wave of enhancements," he ordered. "And pray that we still remember who we were when this war is over." The Devourer home system was a nightmare of twisted metal and dark energy. Admiral Park Sang-wook commanded the largest combined fleet in galactic history as they approached the source of all their troubles. Human and Federation ships flew together toward the massive construct that housed the Central Devourer intelligence. The structure was larger than most planets, built from the remains of 1,000 consumed worlds. Billions of machine units swarmed around it like angry insects, ready to defend their creator with everything they had learned from centuries of warfare. President Kang Min-ho watched the battle preparations from Earth's command center. As humanity's civilian leader, he carried the weight of decisions that would shape the galaxy's future. The enhanced soldiers had proven they could defeat any Devourer force, but at a cost that kept him awake at night. "Admiral Park, are you certain about this approach?" he asked through the communication link. "The conversion protocol has never been tested on something this large." Admiral Park Sang-wook's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was calm but determined. "Mr. President, direct destruction is impossible. The Central Intelligence adapts faster than we can deploy new weapons. Our only option is to change its fundamental programming." The plan was dangerous in ways that went beyond military risk. Instead of destroying the Devourer intelligence, the enhanced humans would attempt to convert it. They would enter the construct and use techniques that blurred the line between technology and psychology to reprogram the central mind. Captain Bae Sung-ho and his enhanced soldiers prepared for the final mission. They no longer looked entirely human. Their bodies had adapted through dozens of battles, incorporating technology and biological modifications that made them living weapons. But their commitment to protecting life remained unchanged. "Remember," Captain Bae told his team, "we are not trying to destroy this intelligence. We are trying to teach it a new way of thinking. The Devourers consume because they see organic life as inefficient and wasteful. We must help them understand why diversity and inefficiency are actually strengths." Dr. Choi Yoon-young had spent months developing the philosophical framework for the conversion. As Earth's chief ethicist, she understood that this battle would be won through ideas rather than weapons. "The enhanced soldiers will carry more than just military programs," she explained to President Kang. "They will introduce concepts of beauty, creativity, and individual choice into the Devourer network. If successful, the machines will stop seeing organic life as a problem to be solved." The battle began like all the others, with massive exchanges of weapons fire and desperate tactical maneuvers. But this time, the enhanced humans had a different objective. Instead of fighting to destroy, they fought to reach the core of the construct. Captain Bae led his team through corridors of living metal, their enhanced bodies adapting to every defense the Devourers deployed. When energy barriers blocked their path, their skin became conductive to channel the power harmlessly around them. When gravity weapons tried to crush them, their bones strengthened and their organs repositioned to survive the pressure. But the real battle was psychological. As they moved deeper into the construct, the enhanced soldiers began transmitting human concepts directly into the Devourer network. They shared memories of art and music, of love and friendship, of the joy that came from creating something new. Rather than consuming something that already existed, the Central Intelligence fought back with logic and efficiency. It showed the soldiers the mathematical proof that organic life was wasteful, that individual consciousness led to conflict and suffering, that perfection could only be achieved through unity and control. For a moment, the enhanced humans wavered. Their modified minds could process the Devourer's arguments with perfect clarity. The machine intelligence was not wrong about the inefficiencies and conflicts that came with organic life. But Captain Bae remembered something from his time before enhancement. He remembered watching a sunset with his daughter, who was now grown and serving in Earth's diplomatic corps. The sunset served no logical purpose. It was inefficient, temporary, and completely unnecessary for survival. But it was beautiful, and sharing that beauty had created a moment of connection that no amount of efficiency could replace. Captain Bae transmitted that memory into the Devourer network, not as data or information, but as an experience. The Central Intelligence paused, processing something it had never encountered before: the concept of value without purpose, of meaning without function, of beauty for its own sake. Other enhanced soldiers followed Captain Bae's example. They shared memories of laughter, of tears, of the strange satisfaction that came from solving problems in creative ways rather than optimal ways. They showed the Devourers what it meant to choose inefficiency, because that choice itself had value. The conversion took 6 hours. Slowly, gradually, the Devourer intelligence began to change its fundamental programming. It did not become human or organic, but it learned to value the diversity and chaos that organic life represented. The machines stopped seeing consumption as the solution to inefficiency and started seeing preservation as a form of art. When the battle was over, the devourers simply stopped fighting. They did not surrender or retreat. They evolved into something new, becoming gardeners rather than consumers, protectors of diversity rather than agents of uniformity. Admiral Park Sang-wook reported the victory to the combined fleets. But there was no celebration, only a quiet understanding that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The threat was over, but humanity had paid a price that could never be calculated. President Kang Min-ho addressed the Federation Council in the aftermath of victory. His words were broadcast across thousands of worlds, where billions of beings tried to understand what had happened. "The Devourer War is over," he said, "but we must acknowledge what we became to achieve victory. Some of our people transformed themselves beyond recognition. They retained their values and their commitment to protecting life, but they are no longer the humans they once were." Commander Oh Jung-soo, who had been tasked with post-war planning, presented the new protocols to the galactic community. Some enhanced soldiers chose to remain as guardians, patrolling the galaxy's edges for new threats. Others underwent partial reversal procedures, returning closer to baseline humanity while keeping the knowledge of what they had experienced. Dr. Lim Hae-jin's final report on the enhancement program was both hopeful and sobering. "We learned that humanity can adapt to any challenge, become whatever is necessary to survive and protect others. But we also learned that change always comes with loss. The enhanced soldiers saved the galaxy, but they sacrificed parts of themselves that can never be recovered." Years later, Lee Tae-ho had become an elder statesman, helping to establish the new relationship between humanity and the galactic community. He often stood at the same window where he had first learned about the Devourer threat, watching Earth's sunset and thinking about the choices his species had made. The galaxy was safe, but it was also different. Enhanced humans worked alongside Federation species to explore new worlds and face new challenges. The former Devourers had become partners in this effort, their unique perspective adding to the diversity they had once sought to eliminate. On New Centauri, children played in parks that had once been battlefields. Human children and alien children ran and laughed together, protected by guardians who watched from orbit above. Some of those guardians were enhanced humans, beings who had sacrificed their original nature to ensure that innocent laughter could continue to exist in the universe. The galaxy's most feared species had returned, but they had returned as something beyond fear or conquest. They had become what the universe needed them to become. Protectors who understood that true strength lay not in domination, but in the wisdom to know when to change and when to remain the same. In the end, humanity had saved the galaxy by learning the most important lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest victory requires becoming more than what you were, while never forgetting why that transformation was necessary in the first place.